too, though. You get that practice in.
Yeah, it's fire.
You guys looking at any specific pairs for this week?
Hey, Johnny, what did you learn from backtesting? What's the one thing you took away from it?
I'm going to start on DXY. Trying to protect my entries because I'm impatient. Okay. All right.
Nice.
That's good.
That's the best thing about backtesting, figuring out what you react to for entries.
Yeah. That's what's so great about it, too, is that it is practice. I realize 90% of the time the price comes back to you, just, oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. That's one of the biggest issues that people face is that they'll enter too early, and then they'll be in a drawdown, and then you're susceptible to, reacting on emotion at that point. And then you start doubting your entries when, what is that? Is your phone over there? Yeah?
Zoom.
Oh.
Formally over started.
Sooner or later it'll come back. Yeah, sooner, exactly. It'll come back to form structure. And like I was saying, a lot of people, if they do enter early, then, they'll start feeling the emotions. Maybe, my analysis was bad. My entry was wrong. But really, it's just, it might have been slightly early, but, your overall analysis is correct. That's why it's so important to be patient and, respect your plan and respect your analysis. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the alarm.
No, it was my phone. Oh. It's good to, when you're backtesting, go through the whole month, and then for like maintaining orders, you can create rules based on, like say your exit rules are breaks of support, you're going to exit after you're up a certain amount or whatever, breaks of structure. It's good to just change up what your maintaining orders rules are and see what the profits that you could have made, like the profits that you left on the table. You could use that to see how you can basically change what you're doing while you're in an order. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with backtesting.
Oh yeah.
To get better at it.
Yep. You can practice, proper lot sizing through stop loss if you use, if you calculate correctly on your own, or if you use that app Stinu. Yeah, there's a lot you can do. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, why does it do that? Hold on a second. I just want to bring this up here. All right, you guys can see that. Where is the chat? I can't see chat.
Where's the chat?
Sometimes Zoom, man, I swear to it.
I got the chat.
Yeah, but I want to see it too. There it is. Chat. Okay, cool, good. Also making your own TP levels. Yes, it's good practice, exactly. And you'll see, if they were too generous or if they were too strict, based on, hard time from support or resistance, depending if it's buy or sell. Yeah, there's a lot you can do. All right, so here we are. We are going to start on DXY. Just start off with the dollar index, because this had, this was the most significant news last week. This is the daily. You can see that it was just falling out of this range. This is when, news hit midweek. And now we're kind of hanging out below this range. It broke below this range, but now it came back up. Looks a bit like an engulfing. Now, it could be retesting before it continues down. But if we bump up time frames, there's one thing that's been consistent, and that has been this steadily bullish trend, right? Just steady bullish since, June 2018. And then look, we see this gigantic weekly wick, huge wick. So we knew that news was speculative and that it probably wasn't sustainable. And we're just gonna, continue with our technicals and see what the market is telling us. So we have a major support level here that didn't quite hit. Here's the trend line that it looks to be respecting. We have a giant wick, which is seller's exhaustion. So now once we know that, once we've identified, that bit of exhaustion, drop down to a daily, and we can see again, this engulfing's here. So it's very likely that we could see the DXY US dollar pop back up into this range, find support, and then continue higher. Now, the dollar still is bullish. The sentiment is bullish. There may be some, positive trade news coming out this week. I know there's a little bit of news that's looking positive for the dollar this week. Where is it exactly? Yeah, we have GDP for Q3 coming out. So, I mean, again, just staying with the trend, staying with the technicals. DXY is bullish. So I'm just looking for this pop back up, right? We're going to find some support around here and then continue to the top of this range once more, around 98.50, 98.40 area, actually. So we're kind of waiting on this. We'll see. But again, just keep in mind that big-ass weekly wick, right? That is it's definitely concerning and something to be aware of for sure. So what does this mean for gold, which is, directly inversely related? So it moves opposite, but they both are safe havens. So gold also has been very bullish, as we can see here on the weekly. Very bullish. Pushed up to the top of this monthly resistance, came back down, found support around the 38.2, and now it's been kind of consolidating within a range. It's kind of just playing zones here, up and down, consistently. And we're kind of just waiting for something to happen. We're waiting for a pop, retest, waiting for it to push up, retest, and continue higher. Now, if we see an immense amount of bullish volume on USD, maybe, gold will come back down and play in this range a little more. And if we see US dollar push down, gold will relatively push up. But even with all that news last week, this was really all that happened. We had this, it wasn't even really that much volume coming out of gold, with how, in comparison to how much volume was, how much bearish volume there was for the US dollar. So this held its ground and still, again, just playing within this range. So we're just looking for confirmation here. Again, this is the daily. This is a huge resistance level around 1477.5. So I want to see a clean break, maybe a big-ass bullish candle coming up into this zone, and then a retest, then a continuation back up to the monthly. This will be a really good play if we see those confirmations around here. Maybe a morning star or an engulfing off this support. This is something to look out for because this is a huge range to fill, right? And again, this is right. This is a 38.2 retracement, and it also could be considered a flag. So you target the height of the pattern, which is in turn this range. So it's very possible that we could see 1560 being hit in the next month or two. So something to be aware of. Just good, always good to play alongside DXY because of how inversely correlated they are, right? So let's move along over to AU. This is a pair that I prepared for you guys. We're going to hop up over to the daily first. Actually, we're going to go straight to the weekly. And, obviously, the weekly trend isn't going to change much because, it has been so steadily bearish, and each one represents a week. So, we do this every week, so it's going to look pretty similar on the weekly time frame it is. And, very bearish, very, very bearish. So let's go ahead and drop down time frames to the daily. And what do we see? We see the 618 being rejected once, and now for a second time, followed by a huge wick, 200 EMA trend line as well. A lot of confluence in this area, guys. Let's just count for a second. We have major resistance. We have the daily 618. We have the 200 EMA. We have a gigantic wick, plus an engulfing. So, and assuming the overall trend, that's very bearish.
Definitely huge confluence area.
Huge confluence. So what does this mean for short-term plays? Let's drop down again. So now we can see that this is the structure level marked off where that engulfing happened. This is where that engulfing completely eclipsed the bullish candle on the daily. This blue structure zone here. So now we have a little bit of gap formation, and then the MAs are pointing down. So we're looking for just some bearish signals here, and then we're simply going to target 38.2 followed by this lower trend line. And this is a good trade potentially. About 80, 90 pips. If we see the confirmation again, guys, because this level, it is breaking this level. And again, it's a higher time frame, 618. So we could definitely see this fall out. And then what does this mean? So let's say price does come down to here, down to this trend line. Just kind of forecast here for a second. Let's say price does come down to here, right? Touches this trend line. It then broke this structure level here. If we want to target lower, based on a higher time frame, we want to see a retest of this level, roughly, and then a fall out of this trend line. We want to see this trend line broken, and then we can go ahead and target lower towards the 0%, where we've seen so much rejection and support before. So this is a level that could be tested. Again, this is the daily time frame, so this will be a few weeks before this plays out, but it's something to keep in mind. Always keep the higher time frame in mind. Always be aware of the potential areas where price could push to. So AU looking pretty good. 80 pips on AU. That's pretty big. It's pretty big. So this would be a pretty tight stop loss too. This would be a good entry area. Stop loss would be outside the 618 or outside the previous lower high once we see one form. So let me leave this on the 4 hour for you guys. And again, as you guys know, we've posted this in analysis. So definitely compare it to your own chart. So here is Euro SIF, I'm sorry, which has been a pretty good pair for us recently in the last few weeks. It's been paying out big pips. Right? So, all right, here we are. We're on the weekly. Again, very bearish, guys. Very bearish. We're breaking through this weekly level. We broke through. This was structure. It tested twice. Broke lower through this monthly support. And then it came back and tested the 38.2. This is actually a daily fib. 38.2. Very significant. We're seeing a lot of exhaustion from here. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this daily and see what this means for us. And again, based on news last week, we had this little surge of price action, and then it established this wick. So it came right back.
It's obviously news related.
Yeah, very speculative. But as I always say, with news, I like to think of it as it just accelerates the trend on higher time frames. So we're on the daily here. This is considered a higher time frame. This news came up, it spiked the trend line, didn't break anything, came right back and respected the structure level that was previously broken, and it's actually closing below the MA. So this is what we want to see. This is showing that the sellers are in control here, no doubt about it. We have a few lower highs. So let's go ahead and drop down to the 4 hour and see where a potential entry could be. So as always, what do we wait for? A break and retest. As Johnny just described in his back test, it happens quite often, and it is the conservative and most highly probable approach, right? So we want to see a break of this little support here, this blue line, as well as this trend line. It's actually easier to see on the daily. See, just want to see this break and retest, clean as can be. Break, retest, outside of this trend line, no doubt about it that this is going to continue lower. So we would target the 0%. Again, your stop loss would be outside of the previous lower high, just outside this 23.6, or if we see another one form here, we would enter on an evening star or an engulfing, and your stop loss would be in this area inside of the pattern itself. So this would be a very highly probable trade. This is what I was talking about when I was saying that there's a lot of potential setups this week earlier. Everything's just looking pretty good, and we're just waiting on those confirmations, guys. So again, engulfing or evening star, we're going to target the 0%. Let me throw a range on this for you. Looking at about 100 pips, 100, 110 pips area. And then again, once price gets to this region, we want to see a retrace for another lower high form, and then potentially target all the way back down to this weekly level. So some good moves happening. Again, this is Euro SIF on a daily. This one is, I'm really excited for this one. This is probably going to be one of the better setups.
ESEF.
In the next few weeks. Yeah, ESEF. Looking good, guys. All right, so I also prepared EJ, which is interesting. And I'm going to cover why it's so interesting in a second. Let me just bump up time frames. Sometimes, man. Sometimes. All right. So very bearish. I mean, there's a lot of bearish setups, a lot of selling opportunities, short opportunities in the market this week. Very bearish. We have this one trend line here, this inner trend line on a weekly, and prices come back up. It wicked this 88.6 again on news, and this is like a 100 pip wick, I believe. Let me just throw a range on this. Yeah, it's a 90 pip wick, which is crazy, which is absolutely nuts. So it wicked the 88.6 as well as this little resistance level here, this daily resistance, and I marked this based on a line chart. A little bit of overlapping here. So I thought that was significant enough where I could mark it, because it also has the confluence here around the 88.6. But we are above this weekly. So I'm not going to go long on it yet, and I'm not going to go short on it yet either. But I'm not going to go long because of this wick. This is just a huge no-no. Like it's a 90 pip wick showing buyers exhaustion, so you're not going to buy that. No one's going to buy that. That's a terrible idea. And we're not going to sell it because it is resting at this level. It's right above the 200 EMA. It's right above this weekly. Well, right now it is acting as support. But we want to see that little break back into this range, retest, and a strong bearish setup. We're going to need to see a big engulfing with little to no wick on the bottom end, or a nice evening star with some MA confluence. I would love to see it engulfing through the MAs on a lower time frame too. And then we would just target back down to the support, which is this holding structure zone around the 50% fib. I'm going to throw a range on this. This is a big range. It's like 180, 190 pips. So this is going to be a crazy move. So
yeah, I was going to say go to the 4 hour.
Yeah, 100%.
So we either could see it completely fall out, and like he's saying, we'll wait for the retest, or if this rejects the weekly but then breaks that level of support, that'll be the transition we're looking for on the 4 hour.
Yes, exactly.
To capitalize on.
Right, so we're just waiting on this. We're waiting for those confirmations because post-news, there's always a little bit of a stall in price action. And, we want to just, as traders, be patient and wait. Right now it's Sunday. We're ahead. We're already one step ahead because we did our analysis. We're aware of what had happened already and what the potential for this week is. So, again, ideally this break and retest for the euro would be so key back down to this support level here. So, again, 180 pips. Could be a great trade. Would be a tight stop once you see that lower high form. And again, just to cover, there are trades. There's been ongoing trade war news with US dollar and the yen. So we could see here if the yen appreciates, let's say a deal does come out, right? Hypothetically, let's say that they come to an agreement and it's positive news for both Japan and the US. If the euro doesn't have any positive news coming out and it's kind of just stagnant, it will drop against the yen. So that would support this as well from a fundamental standpoint, right? So this is an interesting setup. I'm really excited for that one. Euro pairs are looking good this week. And what else do I have for you? I think I have UCAD.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't do AJ, so I'm gonna do UCAD for you guys. This is a trade that is still technically active from last week. It paid out a lot. We entered around here, around this consolidation. Then we saw this big ass drop down to support. And it's looking like a little bit of a double bottom. But again, this is news related, so we can't really, say for sure if this is, significant enough. But this is looking like a little bit of an expanding pattern. Let me scroll up to the weekly. I want to show you guys what's going on here. This is a giant range that we're in. It is bearish on like the monthly and weekly here. Like this trend, it's just, we're getting lower highs, lower lows, but this is a big ass range. So it's something to be aware of. It's nothing like too concrete, like it's the most steep downtrend we've ever seen. It's not. But there is this range here. We can clearly see prices, bouncing here, rejecting at this level. So this is a big range that we were able to capitalize on. This is a 350 pip range. Unbelievable. So when we see that type of consolidation on a higher time frame, you just want to look for lower time frame trends. So we're going to go to the daily here. And we can see that we're getting lower highs. So we have lower high here, lower high here. So this daily trend is pretty bearish. But the only level of support really in the middle of this range is right here where this blue line is. And again, I got that from the line chart, right? A little bit of an overlap, a little bit of a gap here and here. So this is a significant level. It's right at 1450. So this is the only level of support. So we drop to a 4 hour. Again, break and retest along this trend line, guys. We just want to see that break, that lower low form on this 4 hour here. We want to see that lower high, and then we want those engulfings, evening stars, MA breaks, something like this. You want to see a break, retest, boom, and engulfing. Something like this. We want to see this form through the MAs over here, and there'll probably be a little bit of consolidation, but ultimately we're going to target down to this monthly support, right? Very bearish on this time frame. Potential for 140, 150 pip move. So this is looking exciting too. Usually I don't like UCAD too much, but you can't deny technicals. When they look good, they look good. All right? That's what it is. So that's all that I've prepared for you guys so far. 6 pairs. Again, just to recap, covering gold, DXY, EuroSIF, AU, and UCAD. So I'm going to pass this off to Angelo. Nice. He's going to go over the pairs that he prepared for you guys. How was your dinner, by the way?
It was good.
It's good? Good.
Yeah. Very nice.
Pretty nice.
All right, so we're going to go this. We're going to go to this. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. We're going to do Forex. So I did a lot of the major pairs. that we're going to go through. We're probably going to start because you did AU.
Yep.
So I'm going to start with our favorite, UJ. So come on here. So come on here. I got my list. I got my major pairs. So we're going to start on the monthly right now. So we got UJ, a lot of bullish momentum, breaking back up in between the moving averages right now. We actually broke above this weekly levels key level that we were looking at, and we're getting some rejection off of there, but at the same time, we're still below this moving average right here. We formed lower high here, and then we're really testing whether we can break this previous level of resistance right now. So let's go down to the weekly. When we're coming down to the weekly, we're going to see a lot more confluence in this area. We got this weekly trend line that's coming down, and then we got the 200-day moving average. And at the same time, most recently, looking at this, I see a weekly bearish engulfing right here. And then last week, we closed with some buyer's exhaustion, failing to engulf this previous candle. So we're pretty much just within this range right here. At the same time, coming down to the daily, we still have bullish structure right now. We respected that previous higher low, which was a huge move coming off of that, if anybody caught that last week. But based on those weekly bearish, confirmations we have, I'm really at this point looking for some sort of reversal, going along again with the break and retest. All the way on this daily time frame, we got these higher lows. Ultimately, if we can break that, we'll look to retest there. But all the way on the 4 hour now, if we want to try to catch some sort of transition here, we can just see right away we're staying above this 200-day moving average. So we really got to look to break some sort of structure and go lower, and ultimately that's that daily support level. So unless we're looking to long into that confluence area where we have a lot of bearish confirmations, I'm going to wait and see how this plays off back into this zone, and then we'll look for opportunities. So that was UJ. Let's go through EU. So let's go up onto the monthly time frame. So again, monthly time frame, we're below these moving averages. Last week, we showed a lot of exhaustion. Again, buyer's exhaustion. So we're staying below there. Let's bump down to the weekly, start to see if we can see some structure. So on the weekly, right here, I see this lower high, ultimately right here. And this is where price had just rejected. And then we'll get into, obviously, market open with a little bit of a gap up here. So going down to the daily now, we had seen price break through this level of resistance last week. We saw formation of a new higher low that ultimately took us about 150 pips upward, which was pretty crazy. A lot of movement to the upside. At the same time, though, we're still maintaining this bearish trend, and we got a lot of buyer's exhaustion now. So ultimately, I'm looking for some sort of transition on here where we got our entry zone area where we have some confluence, and that would be a break of this level of support right here. If we can get a break of this and then a little bit of a retest, that would confirm that we're then transitioning to the downtrend. So looking to short this, going to be waiting probably over the next day or so on this one. And then you do USEF?
I did not. That's all you.
EU, USEF, GU. So let's go over USEF. So USEF has been within this range, pretty much within this 230 pip range for the last 4 months, which is pretty crazy. Last week, it managed to show a lot of bearish momentum and sort of break below where it hasn't been for quite some time. But still, we see some seller's exhaustion here. So we're really just testing this level down here. We're testing this level, this weekly support, to see if we can maintain right there. Then again, on the daily, let's take a look. If we do come up into these areas and we get a lot of rejection, forming a new lower high, then we're going to look to continue to short this back into this zone. And ultimately, if we can play out that larger move downward, that would obviously be nice, but we're finding some support here. So we're really just going to play based on this lower time frame structure right here on the 4 hour. We got a lower high here, and we got a lower high here. If we manage to break this lower high, we can get a potential intraday move. We get a break and retest on the 4 hour and then take it up into that daily zone where we got some confluence. So there's a couple different opportunities to play out USEF here. Let's go over to GU. GU, obviously, fundamentals, pretty bullish, but I can see this week seeing some sort of pullback on this. It really all depends on the news that's coming out, obviously around Brexit and whatnot. But here we're going on the weekly right now. We showed a lot of bullish momentum breaking right through the 200-day moving average. But at the same time, I got this weekly level mark, weekly resistance. This was previously a weekly lower high. So we're just testing this area right now. So I would remain pretty cautious around here. So we got this huge wick. Obviously, this wick, take it down. We can sort of see how it's news related, because we'd have to go all the way down to a lower time frame to really see. And then, it's within one candle. It's been like 5 minutes. So right now we're just retracing off of this to look for any sort of short opportunities. I wouldn't just short based on this wick. I would wait and see how this forms some level of support. And then if we manage to break that and transition on this 4 hour, then we'll look to short this downward. But if not, I mean, pretty much we'll just look to maintain this bullish sentiment like in this zone for now. But we're very overextended. So let's just keep that in mind. Let's do NU. Did you do NU?
Nope.
NU. So the last two we're going to do is NU and NCAD. So we've got NU. So again, this one is very overextended as well. Let's start all the way on the monthly. Just look at some structure. We got lower high. We got lower high. And then again, here we got this weekly resistance level that we could even bring out a little rectangle just to give us a little bit of a zone to look in. We'll leave that. Let's come down to the weekly. So last week closed right from this zone, pulling right from there, buyer's exhaustion. Ultimately, look on this time frame. Right now, if we bring out a fib, see where we're at, right near the 618 that we're rejecting a little bit. So we do got very overextended market and looking to form that next lower high in this weekly trend. Down to this daily right now, because of the fact that there's very minimal structure that's forming, we're going to look for this minor level to potentially break since we've already tested this zone. Or if we get a confirmed bounce off of here, we can just take this back into the red. Obviously, market open, gapped up. That's showing over the weekend that there were more buyers coming to the market, but that doesn't mean much. Ultimately, we're going to look to see how we confirm off of these one or two situations to take advantage of this move. So let's go to our minor pairs. So NCAD, it's pretty interesting. Again, all the way on these monthly and weekly time frames, we're really in the areas to form lower highs. We got this previous lower high here. Ultimately, we came back. We're retracing, and last week we finished with a doji.
A weekly doji.
Could signal some reversal out of that area right there. But let's check out what this actually really means. There's a little bit of a double top here, but this isn't exactly confirmed bearish engulfing here. We should have a lot of exhaustion though, which is something to definitely take note of. At the same time, we're still above the moving averages. We're above this 200-day moving average. So we're showing a lot of bullish momentum.
It looks a bit like a wedge.
Yeah, we're showing a lot of bullish momentum in this area. Yeah, something.
Potentially a weakening trend too. It looks to be like that.
Something like this.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I would probably handle definitely.
Yeah, it's building up price, higher lows are forming, but at the same time at the top it's being squeezed by the sellers, which is just holding it up here. So we're definitely going to see some sort of break outward, and based on this weekly, based on the level that we're really at right now, testing this previous lower low, we could see an opportunity to take this market short. So those are all the pairs that I got for today. So we just went over 10 plus pairs.
Yep.
A lot of analysis. Like Nick said, a lot of opportunities.
Definitely a lot of opportunities. A lot of patience in the early days of the week for most of these setups, but there's definitely a lot that could happen midweek, later in the week. A lot of potential setups, a lot of big trades, considerably for the end of December, which is usually a low volume month.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there's been a lot of news, so people are still actively trading for now at least. But again, as we get closer to the holidays, either start to close your trades or scale out of your trades if you're in any, and just enjoy the holidays. Don't worry about trading too much, because most of the market will be slowing down around that time anyway.
Yep.
So, you guys have any questions before we wrap this up?
So yeah, this was the
GA?
Sunday Market Blitz GA. We'll drop that analysis in the chat afterwards.
Yeah, we're gonna be posting more.
We'll post some more. So if you have any additional ones that you want, we'll do that in the chat for you guys after. We'll post that up. And yeah, this was another episode of the Sunday Market Blitz.
Yep.
10 plus pairs of analysis. Like we said, enough opportunities for you guys to take advantage of. So enjoy the rest of your week, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, guys.